Hey there, everyone. It's Camber here with the YoPro Know. We're here with Rebecca Lankford today, a great friend of mine from school, and also the director of senior high ministry in Birmingham, Alabama. We're excited to have Rebecca here today. She's also getting her master's in theology. And when I was thinking of this new video and podcast series and thinking about who would be a great fit for this, one of my first thoughts was Rebecca, not only because she is such an inspirational person, but I think she will bring a lot of wisdom and insight into a field where we have not really explored yet with the YoPro Know. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Rebecca. So just give us a little bit of background and then we'll dive more into the details.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me, Camber. My name is Rebecca Lankford, and I am from Birmingham, Alabama, where I currently live. And I went to Furman with Camber, and I studied Spanish and religion. And during my time at Furman, I started to be interested about the ministry field. I started to kind of feel a tug there. And I did an internship one summer that really kind of confirmed that that was maybe something I wanted to do. So when I graduated, I took a job in Charlottesville, Virginia, and was working in youth ministry there for a year until I got offered my current job in Birmingham. And I now have been there for, it'll be going on 3 years this fall. And so, yes, I currently serve as the senior high youth director at a church called the Advent here. And I've really loved it. And I'm starting this spring. I actually went back to school part-time to get my master's of theology, like Camber said. So I am currently working full-time and in part-time school. And that's me.
Perfect rundown. Thanks for keeping it nice and concise. First, before we move on to the next question, can you talk about what it has been like balancing doing your part-time school with full-time job?
Yeah, sure. There was a learning curve for sure, and it was tough at first. But I think one of the benefits of a job in ministry is that your time is pretty flexible. You're not working a standard 9 to 5 job. And so I really just had to learn what it looks like to block my time. I would go to class 2 days a week. And so I would kind of dedicate a big chunk of those days to schoolwork. And then outside of those chunks of time, I would focus on my job. But it really did require just kind of me learning what a typical week looked like. And I love structure and I love schedule. So I had to really think seriously about how I want to block out my time. And I tried to be in the school zone when I was in the school zone and in the work zone when I was in the work zone. And another benefit of kind of doing work and school together is that I loved seeing how what I was learning in school would kind of bleed into the work that I was doing at the church. So it was kind of cool to see how the two were complementing each other.
Yeah, crossing over. That's really cool. And you may have already covered this a little bit, but what should young professionals know about your field in general? So not necessarily during the current crisis that we are experiencing, but in general.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I would say is what I've already mentioned, that hours are super weird. And sometimes that can be frustrating, but it can also be really helpful and liberating. It's funny that like I told you, Camber, I feel so funny that I'm being interviewed for the YoPro Know because I rarely feel like a YoPro in my job. And that's a part that can be an advantage, like I said. Your time, especially since I work with high schoolers, it's more based around the school day and the school calendar than it is so much the fiscal calendar or something like that. So being in ministry does require a sense of great flexibility and adaptability. I think it's really important in working with students to kind of be culturally in the know and to educate ourselves on what this current generation is like. How can we speak into that? I think that's a really important part of being in ministry is kind of knowing the culture that you're ministering to. And yeah, if anyone is interested in ministry, I would love to talk about it more because I think it's not a job that, just like any job, should be entered into super lightly. And ministry jobs are always hiring. That's the good news too. Our jobs are not contingent upon the economy so much. So even in this climate, there are always ministry jobs to be had, which is
That's really
encouraging.
great to know. And I'll make sure, we'll link up your LinkedIn so that people can reach out to you, your amazing LinkedIn profile.
Shout out to Amber on that one.
We'll make sure that we connect people. But speaking of the current climate, what have you seen specifically in ministry, and how have you been affected?
Yeah. So it's been super weird to be in ministry right now because, 98% of this job is relational, and it's about being with people and speaking into people's lives. And that's all been kind of taken away. So we've had to really rethink the way we structure and do ministry. I'm sure a lot of people watching this will have already attended virtual church, and we're doing that too. I do all my small groups on Zoom right now, and it's just been super interesting to try and adapt to the social distancing in such a relational field.
Mhm.
I do think, though, that I've heard it said that kind of right now is almost like the golden age of ministry. Yes, there are really frustrating parts about knowing how to do our work in a socially distant world, but it's also a really great opportunity for us because it's our job to speak into people's hurt and pain and confusion and sadness. And a lot of people are feeling a lot of things right now.
Mhm.
And so we do have a really unique opportunity in that sense. And then also, people got a lot more time on their hands, as I'm sure many of us know. And so there's this great kind of availability that people don't normally have, especially high schoolers, because they're always so busy. So that's been exciting to kind of know how to take advantage of the really great opportunity we've got in front of us while also balancing the frustrating part of not being able to just be with people.
Absolutely. And I think the perspective piece is really helpful, because if you have a negative approach to all of this, then, which is so easy in this environment right now, people are losing their jobs, people are getting sick, people are knowing people that are sick, or have passed, and it's a hard time. And not to mention all of the other things, that the external factors, that are not related to COVID-19. And so people turn to their faith and their communities, and so that puts you guys right there in the center of it all, in a way.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have this positive approach, where would we be, and where would those people that typically turn to you go? So I think your vision is great and really inspiring, and I hope other people feel the same way. But one thing that you mentioned, just the relational piece, that's been really challenging for me as well. And so being able to take this as an opportunity and really twist it into a positive one is great to hear. So I'm glad that things are going as well. And for anyone who is interested in, going into this field, or maybe is thinking about it, I think one of the key things that you said is, you aren't really as impacted by the economy,
Mm-hmm.
really. And so you're always hiring, and, that's obviously, take that with a grain of salt, but, that's something that for people who are looking for a new career, or something, they might be thinking of this career, it's a good thing to know. So
Yeah.
thanks for giving that insight. So before we wrap things up, Rebecca, I want to ask one question that I often ask my interviewees, because I think it's a really telling question. What drives you? What motivates you?
Great question. This is going to sound like such a simple and cliche answer, but I think it drives me to know that I'm helping someone. I don't think I could ever do a job where I don't know how that is impacting another person's life, and I'm sure everyone would say the same thing. So yes, ministry can be weird in the sense that you don't always see the direct output of your work. You can know a student for their entire high school lives and never really see much change in them, and that can be frustrating. but it drives me to know that the work that I'm doing does in some way, somehow have impact. And I really believe in uh, in what I do, and so that gives me motivation to know that some way, somehow, what I have to offer students is making a difference in their lives, whether I see that or not. Unfortunately, it's not up to me, but it drives me to know that the work that I'm doing really does change lives, I believe. So that's what drives me.
Well, I think that's a great way to end the interview. And it's just really cool, just for everyone listening, but also for you. I'm just so proud of you as your friend, and to know, we graduated 3 years ago, and to see what you've been doing and to see your path since you graduated is really, really cool to watch. So kudos to you. I thank you for being on one of the very first video interviews for the
Thanks
YoPro
for
Know. We're
having me.
excited to have you. So thanks so much. And for those of you listening, we'll make sure to connect you with Rebecca after the episode.
Yes, look forward to it. Thanks so much, Camber. This was great to talk to you.